Hi everyone. If you're interested in setting up your own side hustle and in particular your own self-storage business, then watch this video. I will tell you all about how I set it up 3 years ago, how much money I'm making now, and how passive it actually is. In this video, I will tell you all about how I set up my own side hustle, specifically how I developed my self-storage business, which has been going on for the last 3 years. And I divided this video up into several sections. The first section will be all about how I came up with the idea 3 years ago and how it's working now. Next, I will tell you about what you actually do need for this side hustle to function, such as a property, shipping containers, the customers, so stay tuned for that. Thirdly, I will tell you all about how it actually works, how the customers get to my site, how I attract the customers, and also I want to tell you about how passive my business actually is, whether I have to put in a lot of work or whether it's running rather autonomously and passive and generating me a passive income flow. In the end, I will dig deeper into the financials, specifically looking at the investments which I did roughly 3 years ago, how much costs I had and how much running costs I still have, and what I get out of it, meaning how much profit I'm making. If you find this interesting, please consider subscribing and liking this video. There will be a lot more videos coming up in the next couple of months. I will be posting new videos online every Sunday, so please make sure to subscribe and hit the like button below. Hi everyone, again, thank you very much for tuning into this video. My name's Hans. I'm actually a management consultant working in Frankfurt, Germany, but I also do have this little side hustle generating me a rather passive income next to my main job as a management consultant. So first, let's talk about how I came up with the idea. So roughly 3 years ago, I saw a video about how someone was renting out small containers, so not the usual 20 or 40 foot long shipping containers, but actually small aluminum containers, for example. That person was doing it while renting out their regular apartment to just people in the area. So he did that additionally to his apartment, and I was thinking at that point, okay, it's actually a great idea and you could actually do this independent of an apartment and just rent out containers themselves. So I started off thinking that I should buy 1 or 2 containers and then start renting them out to, let's say, families or small firms. At this point, I did not have a property yet. I did not have the shipping containers yet. I did have some money which I could invest. So that was really my first thought. So based on that idea, I figured what would be the next step? How could I check whether there's actually enough demand for it so I could buy these shipping containers and then rent them out? So what I did was I set an ad on eBay Kleinanzeigen, which is like the German equivalent to the American or US Craigslist, but not as shady, don't worry. So what I did was I posted an ad on eBay Kleinanzeigen and described that I do have storage available for people to rent out in a shipping container. Specifically, I posted that it was a 20 foot long, so the regular sized shipping container, and that people could rent it out for, at that point, I think it was 90 euros per month. So I did that just to check on whether there's actually enough demand in my area specifically. Next, I needed the property, obviously. So at that point, I knew someone who I've worked for in the past who has a big, large property here in the area and who might have some space left for me to put my shipping containers on. So I was contacting him, asking him whether that would be a suitable option for him to put my shipping containers on his property and then rent them out to like families or small firms or whatever to my customers. And he agreed to do that. I'm obviously paying rent for that, but that's sort of how it all started off. So there are basically 2 options to buy your shipping containers. First of all, you can buy them from your shipping container dealer. Maybe there's a dealer in your area. Check it out on Google, for example. That would be one idea, but usually they're more expensive, obviously. And then the other option is to just buy it off of Craigslist, or in my case in Germany, eBay Kleinanzeigen, where you can usually buy them a lot cheaper. For example, the 20 foot long containers, you can get them for around 1,000 euros on eBay Kleinanzeigen if you're getting a deal. And if you buy from a dealer, him or herself, you'd pay roughly, I'd say 2.5K, plus you gotta add taxes, so sometimes it might be 2,700 or 2,800 euros, depending on the price and obviously the overall demand. So at that point, I got my shipping containers from a dealer. I bought them for, I think at that point, that was right in the year when Corona hit in November. So I got them very cheaply for around, I'd say 1,500 from the dealer, including taxes, including shipping also. So that's how I started off. So I bought these 2 containers. I knew there was enough demand for it to rent them out for at least, I'd say half a year, and that's how I started it off. So next, the shipping containers got delivered and I did rent them out to people in the area, mostly families at that point, who were just moving from one apartment to another and wanted to put in their stuff. So that's how it all started out. I started off initially with 2 containers, as I said, and then I added consecutively more containers, not only these 20-foot long shipping containers, but also smaller sized and also one 40-foot long container. Next, let's have a look at what you actually do need for setting up this self-storage business. First of all, you obviously do need a property or a site on which you can put your containers. So I have 2 properties now, which I'm renting out myself. So one of these properties actually belongs to a friend of mine, and then I've also found another site on eBay Kleinanzeigen, the, again, German equivalent to the American Craigslist, where someone was just offering space which I could rent out. So obviously you do need to have this property, and you also do need to have the shipping containers. As I mentioned, you can buy shipping containers, 1 from a dealer and 2 from, let's say, a private person on eBay Kleinanzeigen or Craigslist. Next, you obviously do need customers. So please, before you start all of this, you should really do some research. Go on Craigslist or eBay Kleinanzeigen here in Germany and check whether there's enough demand for people to actually rent out your shipping containers. As I've noticed over the past years doing this business, you always do have customers, no matter where you are. So mostly you do have small firms, like 1 or 2 people in the business, who do need additional storage capacity, and for that reason they rent out one of your shipping containers. But then you also do have as customers individual families or people themselves who rent out these shipping containers. So in summary, what you need for it is a property. You obviously do need shipping containers, and you also need the customers, which makes sense, right? So you might be thinking, how does this actually work? And that's an excellent question. So let's dig deeper into this. First, let's talk about how I attract customers. Again, I'm using eBay Kleinanzeigen, the German equivalent to Craigslist, to post my ads there and to promote my storage capacity and storage availability. People usually find me over one of these sites, such as eBay Kleinanzeigen. However, since I now have around 30 containers and I'd say roughly 27 different customers, it's also the word of mouth which spreads, obviously. So if someone knows someone who wants to rent out an additional container, they just contact me immediately and not via one of these sites. Next, you obviously do need a contract. This whole process obviously needs to be legally correct, so you do need a contract to rent out your containers. And this contract, and I can show you one in the next couple of videos, is just a basic contract stating that you rent out your shipping containers for whatever time. You can obviously set that in your contract. You obviously do also specify the amount which has to be paid each month by the renter, and other things such as you can cancel your contract with a fee, or you can cancel it within a specified amount of time. But again, I will dig deeper into this in the next couple of videos. So after having talked about attracting the customers, the contract itself, you also do need to think about other things, such as you actually do need locks for your shipping containers. If you have these 20 or 40 foot long shipping containers, you need basic locks which seal the container doors, and you obviously do need to give your customers the keys for that. Also, you obviously do need to think about surveillance. I always like to know who's on my property, or who's looking at my shipping containers, who is maybe even putting stuff into the shipping containers. So one of the key aspects is also safety, obviously, on this property. So I installed several cameras, and I can have a look at them at any time from any location. It obviously works via internet, so I can check this out at any time. And they are recording this, I think, for a whole month even. So surveillance is a big aspect, and I'll talk about this more in the next couple of videos. But also, again, you need the locks to safely secure your shipping containers for the renters to be able to close the doors and to know that their stuff is actually safe in my containers. So for this, you can actually also buy small key boxes in which you can put in keys, obviously, for the shipping containers. And I will post a picture of one of these key boxes up here, and you can use these obviously to put in the keys for the shipping containers so that you don't have to actually meet the customers. Rather, they can just come, you give them the passcode for the key box, and then they can get their keys for the shipping containers. So again, just to summarize how this works, you need to attract customers. You need to set up a contract with these customers if they do want to rent out one of your spaces. You do need to have surveillance, and you can think about other things such as key disposal. So next, let's talk about how the business can be scaled. Obviously, you do need to have the property and the shipping containers. Now, if you do want to make more revenue or profit, you obviously do need more storage capacity, or you just charge a high price. However, if you really want to scale the business, you do need more shipping containers which you can rent out, and thus you probably need a larger property or site on which you can put these containers. So next, let's talk about how passive is the business. So once you have the property set up, once you have the shipping containers delivered to your property, I would say the business overall is very passive. You need to set up contracts, obviously, whenever you rent out a new shipping container. But as I said, the customers usually stay in these containers for 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years. I actually do have a lot of customers still which do rent out one of my shipping containers, like right from the start when I started my business. So they have been renting this container, for example, for 3 years. And whenever somebody moves out because, I don't know, they don't need the storage space anymore, not a problem at all. You find new customers and then you have to set up a new contract. How this actually works is I copy and paste the file, change the name and the phone number. I usually increase the price, the monthly rent a bit, but that's pretty much all I do. Also, since I do have these lock boxes, customers can just put the keys of the shipping container into these lock boxes, close them off, change the code a bit so nobody else can access the key box, and the new customers can just go to the key box, insert the code, get their keys for the shipping containers, and I don't have to meet them at all once, not even once. So once I have a customer, I send them the contract via email, for example, or WhatsApp even sometimes. They sign it, they send their deposit and the first or second or whatever monthly rent, and then they can just go to the lockbox, get the keys from the lockbox for their shipping containers, and I don't even have to meet them once. So as I said before, I work as a management consultant in Frankfurt. However, my 2 properties on which I rent out my shipping containers are based close to Freiburg, which is like in the very south of Germany. So I've been doing this remotely for the past like 1 or 2 years now, and it's worked out perfectly. I don't have to go to the property like almost ever unless something's going on, but I don't have to go to the property, let's say, when a new customer comes in and rents out one of my shipping containers. So overall, just to summarize, I would say the business is rather passive. I don't have to go to the properties often, if at all. Once the shipping containers are on the property and once you do have customers, the business overall is very passive. You don't have to put in a lot of effort and time overall. So in the end, let's have a look at the financials, which is obviously an important topic. At that point, I will be doing another separate video from this. However, I just quickly want to show you how much money I'm making, how much I put in, and what the return is. So first, let's have a look at the investments. Over the past 3 years, I spent roughly, I'd say, 25k euros, not US dollars. There's a VAR here. Also, you do need to buy locks, key boxes, or whatever, surveillance cameras, for example, which can be an additional couple $100 overall. But these are really my investments, which I did. Next, let's have a look at the costs, specifically the recurring costs. As I said, I do have 2 properties on which I put my containers, and I do have to pay rent for these, obviously. So for the one property, I do have, I'd say, roughly 10 containers, and I do pay around 290 euros per month in rent for this one property. For the other property, I pay around 150 euros rent, and on these I do have around, I'd say, 15 maybe shipping containers. So overall, the amount of rent due each month is roughly 450 or 440 euros per month. Let's now talk about the revenue which I'm making. So for each container I charge around, if it's a larger one, like one of these standard 20-foot long containers, I charge around 100 euros per container. If I do have smaller ones, I obviously charge less, such as 60 or 70 euros. But I also do have this 40-foot long container which I rent out for 135 euros. So if you add that up for each shipping container, you will notice that I make 1,940 to be precise in May of 2022 in rent for these shipping containers. If you're interested in this topic and management consulting overall, please consider subscribing and hit the like button below. In sum, in 2021, I made around 21,000, you noticed that, right? In revenue for my side hustle. In particular, I had around, I'd say 4,000 or 5,000 in costs when it comes to rent, for example, but also these small accessories such as container locks. So if you deduct the costs from my revenue, I made around 15,000 in 2021 before taxes. So my after-tax income would be around, I'd say 7.5K for this year. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did like it, please leave a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe below, and also leave a comment if you do have any questions. And that's it from my side. See you guys soon.